Uncover the psychology of power, discipline, and silent success. The mind is a battlefield, but what if the Stoics already discovered how to reprogram it centuries before modern psychology? Seneca believed true power was never found in wealth, status, or applause. It was hidden in the unseen world within your own mind. What if the key to controlling your subconscious was buried in Stoic philosophy all along? Seneca's teachings were never just about surviving hardship. They were about shaping the unseen layer of the mind, the subconscious, the silent force that drives our habits, our emotions, and ultimately, our destiny. Today, people call it manifestation. Others call it mindset training. Psychologists call it mental conditioning. But centuries ago, Seneca called it something simpler: the discipline of thought. And here's the promise. By the end of this video, you'll discover 4 timeless principles from Seneca that can rewire your inner world and unlock a potential you never knew was hidden inside you. Seneca once wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." He wasn't exaggerating. He was pointing to one of the greatest truths of human psychology. Most of our pain doesn't come from events. It comes from our thoughts about those events. Here's the hidden force: your subconscious mind. It doesn't argue with you. It doesn't ask if what you're saying is true or false. It simply absorbs repetition. Every time you repeat a thought, whether it's, "I can't do this," or "I'll never recover," your subconscious takes it as instruction. It builds your reality around it. This is why negative self-talk is so destructive. Tell yourself long enough that you're broken, and your mind will make it true. But the opposite is also real. Repeat thoughts of resilience, of calm, of self-command, and your subconscious will quietly rewire itself toward strength. Seneca understood this centuries ago, and his weapon was simple: Stoic journaling. Every day he wrote his fears, his doubts, his inner dialogue. Then he replaced them with rational responses. If he feared loss, he reminded himself, "Fortune gives, fortune takes away, but virtue stays mine." If he feared death, he reminded himself, "It is not death a man should fear, but never beginning to live." Why does this matter for you? Because journaling is not just reflection, it's reprogramming. When you capture your anxious thoughts on paper, you rob them of their power. When you rewrite them with rational clarity, you teach your subconscious a new language, a language of stability, a language of resilience. Modern psychology backs this up. Cognitive behavioral therapy, one of the most effective treatments for anxiety, is built on the exact same principle. Challenge your thoughts, replace distortions with truth, and your mind begins to heal itself. What Seneca practiced intuitively, science has only recently proven. Here's how you can apply it. Step 1. Write down the exact thought that's been haunting you. Don't censor it. Let it spill out. Step 2. Ask, is this thought fact or fear? Step 3. Rewrite it with reason. Replace "I'm a failure" with "I failed today, but I am not failure itself." Replace "I can't handle this" with "I can endure more than I think." Do this daily, and slowly your subconscious will shift. You'll feel less anxiety, less chaos, more inner stability. You won't just think differently, you'll begin to become different. Because the subconscious doesn't just follow what you believe, it follows what you repeat. This is Seneca's first secret. Take command of the conversation happening inside your own mind. Control the dialogue, and you control the direction of your life. Visualize adversity, reframe desire. Most people use their imagination as a weapon against themselves. They picture failure, humiliation, disaster, and then try to avoid even thinking about it. But Seneca, like all Stoics, taught the opposite. He practiced premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. What does this mean? It means you deliberately visualize the worst-case scenario: losing your wealth, being betrayed, failing in public, even facing death. Not because you're pessimistic, but because your subconscious learns to stop fearing what it has already rehearsed. Think of it this way. When you refuse to imagine loss, your mind becomes fragile. It panics when life doesn't go according to plan. But when you train yourself to see the storm before it arrives, the subconscious no longer resists. It accepts, and when resistance drops, fear disappears. What's left is calm, the ability to endure. Seneca himself said, "He robs present ills of their power, who has perceived their coming beforehand." This wasn't philosophy for debate. It was mental training. By rehearsing adversity in the mind, the subconscious adapts. It no longer sees setbacks as attacks. It sees them as part of life's rhythm. Modern psychology echoes this. Athletes use stress inoculation, exposing the mind to pressure in practice so that competition feels lighter. Special forces soldiers visualize chaos before they face it, so they act calmly when others freeze. Neuroscience shows that when you anticipate difficulty, the amygdala, the brain's fear center, quiets down. Instead of fight or flight, the prefrontal cortex takes over, giving you clarity and control. But Stoics went even further. They didn't just neutralize fear, they reframed desire. Instead of obsessing over things they couldn't control, wealth, status, applause, they trained the subconscious to crave virtue, discipline, and inner freedom. Seneca reminded himself daily that external things could vanish. What couldn't vanish was character. This is where Stoicism and modern manifestation diverge. Today, many are told, visualize only success, never failure. But this leaves the subconscious fragile. True manifestation is not about fantasy. It's about removing inner resistance. When you no longer fear loss, you move freely toward gain. You attract success because you're no longer blocked by fear of failure. Here's how you apply it. Step 1. Each morning, imagine one thing going wrong, calmly, without panic. Visualize how you would respond with dignity. Step 2. Notice how your body relaxes when you realize, even in failure, you can still act with strength. Step 3. Reframe your desires. Instead of saying, "I need to succeed" or "I'm worthless," say, "I will pursue success, but my worth is rooted in how I endure, not what I own." The result? The subconscious stops clinging, it stops resisting, and a mind free from fear becomes unstoppable. This is the paradox Seneca knew. By imagining loss, you gain freedom. By releasing desire, you create space for true abundance. Seneca once wrote, "He is a great man who uses earthenware as if it were silver, but a greater man who uses silver as if it were earthenware." What did he mean? He meant that true power is not found in what you possess, but in how lightly you hold it. Think about it. The subconscious mind is constantly scanning for approval, from friends, from society, even from strangers we'll never meet. Every like, every nod, every signal of validation creates a dopamine spike. Over time, the subconscious becomes addicted, not to growth, not to truth, but to applause. And once your worth depends on applause, you are no longer free. You're a puppet of other people's opinions. Seneca saw this clearly in Rome's elite. Men who wore gold commanded armies, sat in marble halls, but were terrified of losing it all. They had power in the world, but no power in themselves. Seneca's lesson: if you cannot detach from wealth, status, and validation, then you are not their master, you are their slave. In psychology, this is called extrinsic motivation, when you act for rewards, not for inner values. Studies show that people driven by external validation burn out faster, suffer more anxiety, and make decisions out of fear of judgment. On the other hand, those who act from intrinsic motivation, purpose, meaning, discipline, feel lighter, more creative, more resilient. Their subconscious isn't trapped in comparison, it's aligned with authentic growth. So how do you reprogram the subconscious to detach from validation? Seneca and the Stoics gave us practices. Gratitude. Begin and end each day by noticing what you already have. When you train the subconscious to see abundance in simplicity, it no longer panics when luxuries disappear. Voluntary discomfort. Seneca himself practiced sleeping on a hard bed, wearing coarse clothes and eating plain food, even while rich. Why? To remind the mind, I can endure less. I don't need luxury to be strong. This rewires the subconscious to stop clinging. Simplicity. Use what you have without shame or pride. Drive the modest car as if it were a luxury. Handle luxury as if it were disposable. This balance breaks the subconscious craving for identity and possessions. Imagine what happens when this mindset takes root. The subconscious stops wasting energy comparing, chasing, and craving. That energy is freed for building, creating, and enduring. Your worth is no longer outsourced to applause. It is internal. It is unshakable. This is Seneca's hidden teaching. Success is not when the world admires you. Success is when your subconscious no longer needs the world to admire you. And from that freedom, achievement flows naturally, because your actions are rooted in strength, not in hunger. And Seneca warned that philosophy is useless if it stays in books. He wrote, "Philosophy teaches us to act, not to speak." For him, wisdom wasn't what you said. It was what you lived, every day. And here's the truth. Your subconscious doesn't respond to speeches, theories, or good intentions. It responds to repetition, to patterns, to what you do consistently. Think of habits as invisible scripts. Every time you wake early instead of snoozing, write in your journal instead of scrolling, or sit in silence instead of chasing noise, you are sending a message to the subconscious. This is who I am. Over time, those small signals form an unshakable identity. In modern psychology, this is called habit loops. Every action creates a feedback signal. Do it once and it's just an act. Do it daily, and it becomes an identity. James Clear, in Atomic Habits, explains this as identity-based change. Instead of saying, "I want to write," you say, "I am a writer." Instead of saying, "I want to be disciplined," you say, "I am disciplined." The subconscious absorbs this as truth. Seneca understood this centuries before neuroscience. He practiced small acts of discipline, mindful reflection at night, voluntary discomfort to stay sharp, moments of silence to train focus. To him, these were not random acts. They were deliberate exercises to program the mind. Because the subconscious does not distinguish between small and big. It only records patterns. And the patterns you repeat are the life you manifest. Think about it. Many people sabotage themselves not through huge mistakes, but through tiny daily signals, hitting snooze, breaking promises to themselves, escaping into distraction. Each act whispers to the subconscious, "You are weak, you cannot be trusted." And the subconscious obeys. It aligns reality with that identity. But if you reverse this, even in small ways, the subconscious begins to work for you, not against you. Drink water instead of numbing with dopamine. Write a single line in a journal instead of none. Walk 10 minutes in silence. These tiny victories are not trivial. They're anchors. They whisper, "I am strong. I can endure. I can create." This is the secret link between Stoicism and manifestation. You don't attract what you dream of. You attract what you repeatedly do. Seneca would say, "Show me your routine, and I'll show you your destiny." So if you want your subconscious to stop sabotaging you and start aligning with your vision, don't wait for motivation. Don't wait for transformation. Build it in small daily acts. Because every action is not just a task. It's a vote for the person you are becoming. Here's the hidden truth most people never realize. Your subconscious cannot tell the difference between what is real and what is imagined. It doesn't analyze. It doesn't argue. It simply obeys the strongest signals you feed it. That's why fear feels real even before anything happens. That's why desire can consume you even when nothing is missing. The subconscious is always listening and always programming. Seneca's teachings were not abstract philosophy. They were subconscious training tools disguised as wisdom. When he said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality," he wasn't speaking in poetry. He was describing the mechanics of the mind. By rehearsing fear in your head, you teach the subconscious to live in fear. By practicing gratitude, journaling, and voluntary discomfort, you train yourself to live in strength. Every Stoic exercise was, in truth, a reprogramming exercise. This is where ancient wisdom meets modern neuroscience. Studies show that when athletes visualize practice, the brain fires the same neural pathways as if they were physically training. Seneca and the Stoics had no MRI machines, but they knew the principle. Imagination builds identity. And here lies the hidden insight. When you command your thoughts, you command your destiny. Most people let their thoughts run wild, replaying failures, comparing to others, drowning in what-ifs. They don't realize every repeated thought is a command to the subconscious. Every image, every internal story is an instruction. The Stoic who masters his inner dialogue doesn't just survive the world. He programs his mind to create a world he can thrive in. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine what it would feel like to live with a mind that no longer trembles at the thought of failure. A mind that no longer chases applause, no longer panics when things are taken away, no longer clings to what it cannot control. Instead, it moves with calm, it acts with discipline, it speaks less but means more. It no longer negotiates with fear or bargains with doubt. It simply directs itself with clarity, with steadiness, with strength. This is Seneca's true gift to you. Not comfort, not escape, but freedom. A subconscious trained not to be a slave to the world, but a master of itself. And when that shift takes root, you stop chasing the life you think you should have, and you begin building the life you were meant to live. Your subconscious is always listening. Every thought, every image, every word you repeat becomes the script it follows. Feed it the noise of comparison, and it will build chaos. Feed it the poison of fear, and it will build hesitation. But feed it Stoic principles, discipline, calm, gratitude, courage, and it begins to rewire itself. Slowly, silently, it shapes you into someone unshakable. That is Seneca's secret. Philosophy is not abstract. It is an instruction for the mind beneath your awareness. And when your subconscious shifts, your destiny shifts with it. Remember this: the world is loud, but your mind doesn't have to be. Train it, guide it, and it will carry you toward peace, toward power, and toward success.